Okay, so we're on YouTube, but I don't. I guess I'll just turn the mic.
His next request is making me think the short and sweet too.
All right, let's get us back into
Mhm.
session and then, yeah, okay.
Do I need to move into the hot seat or can I talk? to
Let me
you?
look at it real quick.
Make sure he's not,
Oh, right. Phil, not Phil.
yeah.
Phil and Lynn probably.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're back in session at 1 PM. We still have George, Chris, Storm, and Greg here. And go ahead, Chris, and go to Canal Partnership, and then we'll come back to the auto.
And, Dan, is it, going to be disruptive for you to bring up, a web page? That we can
Yeah,
look
let me
at?
see if I can pull that off. Okay, tell me what it is.
This would be canaltrust.org. Canal Trust, all one word, .org.
ANALTRUST.org.
Is it coming up?
Yeah. All right, hang on. Let me see if I can just do a screen share with that. Share. And then we're going to go to this now. Okay, there we go. We got
There
it.
we go. Okay, and under plan your visit,
Plan your visit. Okie dokie.
click Canal Towns. Okay, so Canal Town Partnership was formed in 2009 with the involvement of several towns along the Potomac, and those have increased. I think we have 11 member towns presently up and down the Potomac, downstream to Poolsville, upstream to Cumberland. And it was set up to support sustainable trail-related economic development in the towns, to provide support to the C&O National Historical Park, and to provide better services to people using the trail that come through our towns. And Harpers Ferry, Bolivar have had a joint membership in the partnership from the beginning. They, the annual dues are $500 a year for each town, regardless of the size. So because we split the membership with Bolivar, it's only $250 for us. Each town is allotted 2 slots for representatives, and because of our joint membership, I currently represent Harpers Ferry. Sharma Quarles represents Bolivar. We pay our own way to the meetings, which are held monthly most of the year with the summer break, and other personal expenses at those meetings. This is the homepage of the partnership, and each town has a special page, which we'll look at Harpers Ferry, Bolivar in a minute. But one of the things we do, one of several things, is we produce some brochures, mainly related to bicyclists, because that's a lot of the long distance travels coming in. Deb, if you can click Towpath to Town there on the right.
I'm here.
There we go. This is a brochure that's both available obviously online, but also we publish each time, and we try to keep it updated with relevant services, businesses, and other services in each town. So
See the
we
map.
start at the upstream end, and we try to keep these updated, mainly phone numbers here, but the Canal Trust also uses these lists to keep updated the Canal Explorer, which is an app that is available for anyone using the canal. So that's one, and if we go back to the home page, scroll down, and you can also see at the bottom of that page, well, let's stop and on the list of towns, click Harper's Ferry. We just, the webmaster at the trust just overhauled the pages with, I was part of the team helping her on this. I did the text, although some of it had been written in prior to me. And then, I don't know where Timber, the webmaster, came up with this beautiful picture, but I think it does as well. At the bottom of the page, it also provides a link to visit Harper's Ferry's website to get people into the web page that's going to provide services. Currently, we have that at Jefferson County. I think we had landed there because for a while, Experience Harper's Ferry was not being maintained. I think that's changed, and I'd like to go back to Experience Harper's Ferry. So that's available for folks using the towpath to get to our towns. We also, one other aspect that's been real helpful to us, especially on things like the Byron Bridge, is to have towns advocate for each other with government, sometimes interstate issues. For us, mainly that's been the Byron Bridge. We had a lot of support for many years from canal towns. We probably wouldn't have gotten as far as we have with that project to overhaul the ramp or the staircase into a ramp had it not been for canal towns. Cumberland is in the midst of a big project that will have a major impact on the whole region for tourism, kind of redeveloping the waterfront and getting more water tourism there, outfitting, that we've supported them on. So it's a good way. We also, at our meetings, it's a great way to interchange what's happening in our region. I've learned the mayor of Brunswick is a young guy who just has done so much with economic development and housing in Brunswick. It's been exciting to see what was happening there. Williamsport, there was a private group who was doing a lot of development downtown in Williamsport. So you pick up a lot of ideas and things that are helpful. So that's kind of the background on it. And I requested for the coming year the $250 for the dues, and then I padded that a little bit, $100 for possible use for meetings in Harper's Ferry. We have pre-pandemic, we had a real good record of having big meetings in Harper's Ferry where Park Service entities, AT, Harper's Ferry, CNO, Potomac Heritage, all would attend our meetings. It was a great way to interchange ideas and to let people know what's happening in Harper's Ferry. And so I've been trying to get back to that too, and we had a pretty successful meeting this past year at the Mather Center. I think this year we're going to shoot to have something in Bolivar, so maybe Bolivar Town Hall. So anyway, expenses come up sometimes about those meetings. Sometimes towns are asked to have a little special allocation for the brochures, although more often that comes from grants. But I thought it would be good to have $100 padding for expenses that we might be asked for. So that's basically it. Any questions?
Questions? Storm, George?
That's pretty clear. It sounds like it's squarely in 402 economic development.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, so,
All right. Phil?
Phil, if
Yes,
you want to come on over to the table on this end, please.
Okay.
And let me navigate us back to the meeting. And I'll turn the lights back on.
This on your shirt, it's not really for amplification, it's for the recording.
Oh.
All right.
This is Phil Falk. If you have, any of you don't know Phil, he's associated with the Oddfellows up there off of Fillmore Street. And Phil, this is what's before you are 4 members of the council, town council. And all that we're going to be doing today or this afternoon is listen to what your needs are. And we're not going to make an assessment on your needs. You are the one who made the assessment what you need, not us. So we're not going to be here and question the validity of your needs. That's not the purpose of this. After you have a presentation of what your needs are financially, and then I'll open it up for any clarification questions from the council. And then sometime next week, we will be meeting, we being the governing body, and we'll assess all 22 requests for funding and try to come to some fair resolution for distribution of available funds that the town may have. So with that, let me just turn it over to you.
Well, I would like to say that I know yourself and Storm have been to the Oddfellows and also Chris. The building's almost 200 years old. And I hate to say it, but it's basically myself that looks for funds. And most of the time does the work. I wasn't very active last year. I tore my bicep, and my wife had knee surgery, so that was backed us up a little bit. But we did have members that did do some things on their own, which is also always pleasant. But the building itself, like I say, is it hasn't it's pretty well sound on the outside. I have some pictures from before. That's probably in the early 90s. This is when we had our kitchen area rebuilt. Roy Simpson, who was the minister down at Camp Hill. But I don't know about you all, but it's so hard to find someone that does work honestly. So hopefully, I do have a couple people that will do some work, and when they find time, they'll be able to do it. A lot of it is weatherproofing, door locks. We do have a heating problem, but it's not, this sounds crazy. It's the heating company we deal with. Like we just had, we had a meeting in December, went outside and went, this looks like propane. So I turned off the heat. And unbeknownst to us, the guy came out, and this is on a Thursday night at 10:30. He came out and filled the tank up. Well, he didn't turn the heat on because he couldn't get in the building. And I've told him 1,000 times where to get the key at to come in the building. And the only thing it is just go in, take the thermostat off and stick it back on and reprogram it. So I did get that straightened out. So hopefully that won't happen again. Our bills, usually range for that in a bad winter, I got $1,300. That's one big problem. Down, I have pictures on my phone, and if you need to, I'll show them to you. Areas that need weatherproofing, we have cellar steps. When you come down, there's like a doorway. Well, a lot of air comes in there. So we have a door that we can put on that came from the Kaplan house, and we want to build up around that. The other big area is we call it the ante room. When you're in the Oddfellows, no matter where you're at in the United States, you have to have an ante room when you do your degree work. That's a little bit too much information. But it used to be the sleeping porch during the Civil War. Well, it's tilted about like this. The wood's still pretty stable, but it's coming out from the wall. There's probably about that much gap, and you can feel the air come up through the floor. So it was suggested to me that we lay a plywood floor over top of that. It wouldn't be seen by the public, but it would make it a lot stable. And hopefully my idea would be to do a tongue and groove on the bottom, the joist, painted a nice blue. Put some insulation in between there. Some members think that the windows are in rough shape. They're really not, because Brother Mike Music made sure that he had them repaired a few times, and they're pretty tight. They weren't original to the building. As I was talking to Kathy downstairs, downtown at the bookstore. During the Civil War, when they went in, the first thing they would do is kick out the doors and kick out the windows and burn the wood. And I wish at the time when we had the kitchen redone, the floor was just laid open. And you can see where they had fires in there. They had like a grill in there, it was kind of funny. But that's a bit, and then I'm probably missing some things, but I know if you guys are busy, but if you want to come and look through the building, I'll be happy to give you a tour. But I, as you can see from those pictures, here's another one. You can see all the repairs we've done in the past, 30 years. I've been a member for 30 years this month.
And Phil?
Yes.
So, look, we can ask more about the specific ask, but when you presented before, there's some more folks who haven't been part of this process. Could you just sort of back up and kind of describe how the Oddfellows serves the Harpers Ferry community, and also how the lodge serves the community on the whole?
Okay, well, I'll give you a little brief history. When the Oddfellows first started in Harpers Ferry, they met at the Arsenal. Because at 4 o'clock on Saturday, they had their meeting. Okay. Then came 1845. They said, hey, we'd like to get another place to meet. So they met at the Methodist Protestant Church, which is on Church Street. It's where Gary Hill's property was. Of course, that was destroyed during the Civil War. Then we petitioned the government and got the building we're in now, which was connected with Stewart College somehow. I guess they owned the property. And we bought it for $130, which was the whole block. They should have been smarter. So the Oddfellows, like I said, they had a deep connection with Stewart College. Stewart College used to have fundraisers for the Oddfellows. So they were doing something together that mattered. Probably education, that's one of our principles. Cemeteries, looking after brothers. If it wouldn't have been for the Oddfellows during the Depression here in Harpers Ferry, they wouldn't have made it because it had a benefit fund. I mean, it was like, we might have got $2 or $3, which is a lot of money back then. But today we as you've seen lately, last year I got an archaeologist come in. He says, you know, I usually charge for this. I said, you do? He said, but guess what? And he said, if you let me know about all the history of the soldiers here on the outside and inside, I'll do it for free. So he dug 85 holes, found things from Storer College, from Civil War, and afterwards. A regiment from World War II found a pin. But we also are currently working with Honeybee in Charlestown, which is what another one of our mottos is: visit sick, relieve stress, and bury the dead. Well, we don't so much bury the dead anymore, except we have our own funeral rites. But children are very important, especially at a young age. And families nowadays are having a really difficult time just with, you know, everyday stuff. And we try to help with that. We love to do more, but I think as a community and nonprofits, I think we all have to work together. And I think, you know, that should be made important, especially now. And I'm probably forgetting things. In the past, we worked with helping the Children's Park, getting it started, helping the blind. We have a program for low vision that's open to the public. They just have to go to their eye doctor and ask for an application. Our lodge does have a scholarship, and where we get the money from that is, if you knew Brian King, when he passed, his parents gave us $10,000, and we're still using that to put out there in public. And it's for students that had something to do with growing up in Harpers Ferry, elementary school, high school, and we try to keep it local. But we have that going for us. We also get Oddfellows internationally and statewide. We have scholarship programs. But that's about all I can think of right now.
You've been involved in the Flip Flop Festival.
Flip Flop Festival,
You also assist with Hope Cemetery.
right?
Phil, let me ask you, you're requesting $4,000.
Yes, sir.
Just kind of briefly walk us through how you envision the expenditure of that $4,000.
Well, as I said, without the ante room, I don't know how much wood's going to be. I have a source for getting the wood, but I wouldn't expect for the gentleman to give it to me for free. And it's up in 2.5 hours away. So that's one of the expenditures. I forgot to mention, I like to get the one door replaced. And I've been after people to tell me, what does original Harper's or Armory's house door look like, an outside door? What I've seen is just a regular door and it's wood. Like I said, those doors, the archaeologist looked at them and I said, Mark, are they original? He says, no, they're not. They're close, but they're not. I have a list at home that H.H. Chambers had written up. He went through all the ledger books. Anything important happened, he wrote down. One of them was they replaced the windows in 1871. So I'm kind of holding off the windows. Hopefully I can get some grants because I'm back on my feet again and I can research that more. But it's stuff that could be done by members of the lodge. We just need materials. Like I said about downstairs, about the door that goes down from the cellar. And maybe some masonry work.
So it sounds like you'll have some volunteer hours that the Oddfellows are contributing. Will there be funds that Oddfellows is going to be expending from what they raise, or also in-kind contributions if there are folks that are going to be donating materials and supplies or services? Will that be involved with this project?
Yes. I always think to myself, I never count on anybody. I always kind of count on myself. I know it's hard to say, but you have to think that way. I made a promise to Brian King when he passed away. His parents, I said, what me and Brian talked about, I'm going to get it done one way or the other.
Phil, when was that wood structure taken off?
It's still there.
Which
Is this, what view am I looking at here?
that's the east porch.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Oh, it's a
Matter of fact,
part
that's
that
another
faces the
thing.
river, not this way.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's looking down towards Lower Town.
I thought this was,
The west side.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Disregard that stupid question.
Sorry. And that's another question. And also, it's not paint, but it's a stain that's real texture. But that's another project I forgot to mention. I'm sorry.
Need any more doors? Do you need any more doors?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay, I have a couple of the Kaplan doors.
Oh, you do? Well, we do too.
Okay, so it's, and they're extra. I don't need them.
Okay. Was it the outside door?
Yeah.
Really?
Last one.
Because over time you can see where the door is like angled at the top. So that's going to have to be altered a little bit. But I mean, there's every,
Okay.
to get back from last year, we have a member, Kevin Klein. His parents used to live at that house because he worked in Park Service. And they would stay there during the summer. So once in a while I go, Kevin, I said, something needs done. He says, somebody else will get I'll get it done.
All right.
So, yeah, I think that, since you're not looking at hiring a contractor to do a single or several projects, and it sounds as if you have several projects in mind, but they're not quite yet precisely defined or quantified. I wonder if the way to approach this would be that as your year progresses and you work towards a project, so let's say you come across the wood to get the anteroom done and you're ready to do that, or you're getting ready to do that, you come to budget and finance and you say, okay, this is part of what I wanted to do this year. This is how much money I think we need. This is, our volunteers are going to do this. We need to buy these things. This is what we'd like to ask for in terms of money out of this money for the whole year from you. It's important that we have some type of definition of exactly what you want to do. And I understand that it's kind of early in the year and you're trying to just figure out what you might do. So does that seem like a way to approach this?
Yes.
Well, I have a question about that. Now, yeah, last year, we were possibly given $2,000.
Mm-hmm,
We haven't used that, and I'll explain why.
mm-hmm.
I called Charlestown Plumbing and Heating. There's two Charlestown Plumbing and Heatings. One's in Kernersville. So I called the guy out, and we were going to do tankless hot water heaters. So the gentleman who owns the company comes out. He says, our company will do that for free. I'll do the equipment, take some stuff out that you don't want, and it'll be free. You just have to be patient because we're busy. Now it's February. I called 3 weeks ago. Finally, somebody called me back. And I told her about, the whole thing. He'll get back with you. Hadn't heard anything. So what I'd like to propose is that $2,000 we were voted for to start on this project. Because we have things going on now that members go, one member, I should say, said, oh, my money's running out. Mine are too, because I don't want to fix anything. But I do what I got to do. Before we had the paint done last time, what was 2023, there was cracks in the masonry, things are falling apart, and I got an estimate from the mason. I says, which cost? It costs to fix all that. $400. There you go. He did it. We had a place down in the basement where we used to have a coal chute. There used to be a door that flapped open, which let a lot of cold air in. So I said, could you break that up? Or make me put some stem in it? $200. I'll make sure that was done.
Well, Phil, what we can do, like right now, we're talking about the next fiscal year, which
Right, I
starts in
understand.
July, but
I understand.
for that, you can, like if the original project fell through and there are other things that are helping the building in a way, you can come back to us through budget and finance with, hey, this didn't come through for this $2,000 project. Could we transfer those funds to say a specific project? And it could even be something that has been spent if it's part of the mission. And that then budget and finance could look at it and make a recommendation to town council to say, okay, it does fit what was described to us broadly, and then town council could decide to reassign those funds. The key thing is it needs to track to specific spending, so that if a check is being cut, then we will be able to say truly we've been responsible with the town's funds.
Yeah, we just had the town foundation do that,
Oh,
some money had been allocated for plastering, I think, and the plastering wasn't gonna happen because they couldn't find a contractor to do it. They said, can we use it for brickwork instead?
And that's more or less what Deb is saying about for the next fiscal year, is to have well-defined projects so that when they happen, we'll be able to look at the list and say, yeah, you have the receipts and you've sent them in, that we see that it was spent the way it was imagined. And if it happens again, that the project falls through, if it's a similar project, then you could say, hey, can we move it to this other thing that we did?
But what I would suggest as far as, I mean, if you come up with something in this year where you want to redirect that $2,000, then come back to us for that. But as far as this particular project, I would suggest before you get started on the project, like, I'm not sure how you're going to decide when and who's going to do whatever it is that's on here. But at some point, somebody's going to say, okay, 2 weekends from now, I'm going to come and I'm going to do this, this, and this to those windows. And I need to go buy weatherproofing materials and blah, blah, blah. At that point, and more than 2 weeks before, more like 6 weeks before, come to us and say, okay, we're organizing a weekend that we're going to work and we're going to do the weatherproofing and we want to go buy supplies. We'd like to put that against this money. Then we can say, all right, there's $1,000 of weatherproofing materials they're going to purchase. That will go to council. Council will say, yes, that's part of this year. And then you go ahead and you make the purchase and you bring us the receipts and we can reimburse you for it. Okay, so, but you're going to need to sort of define each project along the way, if that makes sense, as you work to planning it.
Like say, doing something in the basement,
Mm-hmm.
that would be basement,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Give you the receipt.
Right, and as you, but you want to be coming to us first and saying, all right, we're getting ready to work on the basement. We're going to do it in April. And so these are the materials that we think we need. And this is how much we think it's going to cost. And we're going to do all the work ourselves, volunteer. So that's our contribution to the whole thing. And bring that to us. If you wanted to do it next April, bring that to us in February if you can. And we will get it approved up the chain so that when you go to work in April, then you can bring us the receipts after that and we can reimburse you for it. That's how I sort of, rather than you just going and next weekend buying some stuff and then coming back to us and saying, well, I did this. Because it makes it difficult for us to prove out, and not
No, I
trying to
understand.
cast any
I understand.
thoughts, but the state auditor's office is going to say to us, well, how do you know he did that with that and he didn't just put it in his own house? We have to sort of orchestrate and understand what you're actually doing, right? And to tie it all together. So is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you go along, Phil, if you got questions,
Yeah, just
contact Debbie or Storm or myself.
Yeah.
or when you're starting to think about it, give us a call. We'll help you plan putting it together. I think once you do one of them, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense now.
You know, and I was also, as I looked at your application here, it was thinking that, you know, there had been in some federal incentives for weatherization in particular. Now, I don't know how that would work with a do-it-yourself project, but some of those questions and some guidance for some big grants for some big work, it might be good to talk to the state historical preservation office.
There's the Preservation Alliance of West Virginia. I reached out with them. And another lady that writes out for grants, and she had a whole list, but I was under the weather
Right.
last year and I didn't get a chance to.
And that's a really good opportunity for us to, if like you need matching funds for that, lots of times that's an opportunity for us to provide the match to that. And that way that's all very well spelled out and you have other contributions coming in, and that is a great way for us to be able to support you in a project.
The Dale Manuel, that you remember him, he did that with us one year.
Yeah. There's a, the state, I'm gonna give you this phone number. This lady's at the state historical preservation office. She might be able to get you started with projects. Yeah.
Any other questions for Phil?
Yeah, thanks.
But
Thanks, Phil.
come by the lodge sometime.
Yeah, we'll get out by.
Greg stopped by and I told him to your office.
Thanks, Phil.
I live a block down the street. Could you put your phone number on the back of that? And I'll call you about these doors.
Okay.
And then we'll see if you need it. I just live a block away.
Okay.
I'm down Zachary Trail.
Yeah, come to the talk at the library on March 10th.
March, you put March 10th down, and my memory's not good. Appreciate it.
All right, so, Chris, you want to go back online?
Application, thank you.
Flip Flop Festival.
George.
George,
Flip Flop Festival.
Flip-flop.
thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Phil. Those pictures really bring out home how much has been done, because that building looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have those shutters.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you're done.
Okay. So the second item here is the flip-flop kickoff. And then again, if you could bring up all one word, flipflopkickoff.org. This application was a little bit difficult because we are right in the midst of organizing this year's event, which will be April 25th through 27th. You know, a lot of the,
Speak for Chris. Phil?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Oh, right.
thank you so
You've
much.
all walked out of the street.
Thank you, Mayor.
we might be recording you.
Yeah, we're recording you all in the parking lot. They're swearing at us. Those people.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so anyway, things for Flip Flop Festival 26, 26 are quite a ways off, it seemed quite a ways off in the future, of course. But a lot of the information we have online right now comes from last year's festival. And Deb, if you can click schedule. What we basically did last year, well, let me give you a little background first, that the Flip Flop Kickoff was an activity organized by Trail in Town after Harpers Ferry Bolivar became an AT community. And Trail in Town was designated as the official steering committee for the community. It came about kind of as support for ATC in a new endeavor. The population of northbound through hikers, had really boomed. I'm thinking back around 2011, 12, and especially in those southern towns in Georgia and North Carolina, little towns were getting very stressed by the large populations coming through. The trail was becoming very stressed. The camping was degrading things because of heavy use. And so ATC was looking at ideas to spread out the through hiker population. And this idea of a flip-flop hike was developed at that time. Instead of starting at the south end or the north end and going one direction, how about encouraging people to start in the middle, places like Harper's Ferry, go maybe usually north first, and then come back to that starting point and go the opposite direction. And it's been pretty successful. The population of, the general population of through hikers has boomed since that time. So I'm not sure that the northbound population has decreased any, but at least it's a little bit lessened by flip-flops and more focus on southbounders as well. So the Flip-Flop Festival was to develop that. Again, it's been pretty successful. We have had from the beginning kind of partnerships with ATC, with the town of Bolivar, and private businesses have been involved. And just last year, Brunswick, which had become an official AT community, came on board, and so it's a partnership across the rivers now too. So the schedule we had last year, the town support for the kickoff was included this starting on Saturday morning with a reception prior to the workshops. The workshops are all sponsored by ATC. The town provided this reception and kind of a get-to-know-you activity for the hikers, along with the workshops. ATC organized shakedown packs. Of course, last year we turned the hikers loose for lunch, and they supported local restaurants. And then Brunswick provided a Saturday night dinner. On Sunday morning, one of our big things from the beginning has been a big flip-flop flapjack breakfast. And that is open to the community. It's been a real successful event from the beginning. Has kind of broken even, although we've had a little bit of seed money support from the town. And I guess for this year, for Flip-Flop 25, one of the big differences is that we are expecting the Byron Bridge to be closed. Along with Brunswick coming on board, we got River and Trail Outfitters has supported us for the last 2 or 3 years with shuttles between Harper's Ferry and Brunswick Family Campground, and also did that Saturday evening picnic. We had support from Bolivar Bread, from Rations Coffee last year for the reception.
Kelly Farm Kitchen. It says Kelly Farm. Oh, lunch was Kelly Farm Kitchen. Sorry.
Yeah, this year, because it was a time constraint for the for getting folks back to the workshops in time after the lunch break. We're working with Oddfellows on them providing food at a small cost to all the workshop participants. And so that's going to be something that basically Oddfellows supplies the place. I think the festival is going to try to recruit some musicians for that hour and a half period. Now thinking ahead to 26, if I take in the whole progress of the flip-flop, originally we wanted to develop it into a big town festival. We had a wonderful volunteer for maybe 3 years. James Smile worked it seemingly full-time at it for a good chunk of the year. And we had vendors, we recruited, we tried to have workshops for non-hiking events, we were kind of advertising Celebrate the Outdoors in Harpers Ferry. And we had some success with that, but it was always the hiker workshops that were most successful. Because of the loss of James' volunteer hours, we decided 3 years ago to reduce it down, to not have the vendor fair, to lose a lot of the entertainment, which was having minimal participation from the town and the tourists coming from town anyway. But looking ahead to 26, there has been some interest in the in the kickoff moving to Lower Town and maybe getting involved in some more of those community-wide and general tourism activities. We're not far enough along on that to provide many specifics, but I bumped up the request a little bit for 26 because of that possibility. I think if we don't come up with some good volunteer hours, it would not happen, and it would probably be very similar expense to 24 and 25, which was, I believe, 600. So we use it for a website, although Lexi Grant volunteers as webmaster. Some other publicity. We use it for a little bit of the food that is open to general community, although I'm trying to avoid that because of the complications. And we do provide money for the shuttle drivers. River and Trail provides the buses. We pay the drivers. So that's kind of the big picture.
I mean, this is a really good example of why we follow the process that we follow, right? Here we are, it's January. This event won't happen until April of next year. And so you're not even 100, you haven't even had your one from this year yet. So this is a really great example of why we sort of put a placeholder in the budget for what you project, but then we ask you to come back and solidify your plans.
Yeah.
And that's why we do this, because at that point you'll know more exactly what you need, and we have an idea if we can still support it in the budget.
Yeah.
So that's really the essence of the process. It gets a little tangled up when you've got people who need the money right there in the beginning of the fiscal year, but you just get used to that life cycle and you follow it, and it just is really the same for everyone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and fortunately, we have a flip-flop account that has a little reserve in it that we can pay the checks and then document with the receipts.
You have float funds.
Yeah. We're gonna, we did not get very well organized on Bolivar last year. We're gonna push a little bit harder to get Bolivar money this year and for 26 too.
Good. Thanks, Chris. Any other questions? George, you have anything for Chris or Sean?
No, that's great.
Well done, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next item will be at 2 o'clock, the EBTA. So I think, in interest of that, we probably should just hang and wait rather than trying to squeak another one in, because the other
Yes.
ones coming are a bit lengthy.
Is David showing up for BZA?
He made the appointment.
Who's expected for Merchant Association?
Kathy Gray.
Organizations hold it one by
Straw.
a flag.
Within his threat. Within his threat.
All right, sorry, Roberta, I didn't see you there, but let's do a sound check for you. Oh, she's still rejoining, hang on. Okay, there you are. Sorry about that, I didn't see you. Hope you weren't waiting long.
I just I joined right when Chris started talking, so you're fine.
Oh, perfect, okay.
We're good. All right, thank you.
Okay, can you give us another hello?
Yes, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
It's no, it's not transferring. It's coming out of my speaker. Hang on, let's see what we can do about that. Okay, there it is. Speakers, views. All right, try one more time for me.
Okay, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Happy holidays.
Hang on. I didn't know we had so many speakers. All right, one more time.
Happy holidays. Good afternoon. This is Roberta. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
All right, just give me a sec.
And he threw away the radiators.
All right, one more time.
People.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I've walked down
Testing.
Here. Building of mine.
I've never done that before. Hi, how are you, Elaine?
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time.
All right.
Taking the paint off.
Maybe I'll turn my volume up. Is that better?
No, it's not you. It's my computer who's just decided today to act like I never owned it before. No, I just don't understand what's going on. I've never had a situation where the speaker came out of the projector. It's never done that. So I'm just not sure why.
Yes,
So let me see if I can figure it out.
actually, I got 2 beautiful doors. Actually, I have 4.
I don't anticipate talking much, you know. I'm here just listening. Did you do a grand total of how much was being asked?
One of the cool things when you had doors.
Just for the fun of it?
I just need to get the speakers right first. Okay, so we're just gonna go with that one, and I'll just have to convey your questions if they can't hear. I don't know why it's not. Okay, yes, I will try to pull a grand total together by the end of the meeting. If I can't, then by the end of the meeting, then we'll circulate that along with the deliberative town council agenda for the 26th, which will come first part of next week.
Okay, and I'll probably have to appear virtually for that. Do you know what time?
I see the bus go by and I go, oh,
If it's after 1 o'clock on the 26th, I cannot be present. I had
2:30 on the 26th.
Okay, I probably
there
will
you go.
join late, or I won't be there at all. I'm in a hearing on the first, on the
Flag.
20, I'm in a hearing at 1 o'clock on the
So
26th.
there's just a lot of people talking in the room. Roberta's trying to talk to me. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're now ready. Roberta, we could talk about this when we get a little break.
Yeah,
Elaine Bartolt is here to present, Bartoltson, excuse me, is here. Come on over here, Elaine. She's going to present for the EPTA. And there's a microphone right there, Elaine. If you just want to put that on your lapel. And I have another one.
Okay, so.
All right, so this is item L. Yes, sir. Carry on.
Okay, Elaine, who is seated around the table? I want to keep this as informal as possible. We have 4 members of the Harpersburg Town Council. We have 1 member online, and we have 2 members absent. And so we have a quorum. So what we're going through 22 requests. Okay, and you're one of 22. And our job today or this afternoon is to listen to both of you. And we are not here to question your need. You know your need better than we do, so you won't get any questions why you need this and why you need it. That's not going to happen. So we'll listen to your presentation. You've done this before. And then next week sometime, the town council will sit around this table. And what we will try to do is to make some very fair decisions based on the amount of monies we have allocated. And we do that very deliberately. And I would always think that I know that it does, fairness prevails. No one does it in on anything. We look at the big picture at 30,000 feet up, so that's how it goes. So let me just turn it over to you and we'll take it from there.
Sure, so I'm Elaine Bartleson, the Executive Director of EPTA, and
Louis Grindle, the Deputy Director with EPTA.
so we put in our request for $7,500 again this year. That is what Harpers Ferry Council has given us the last couple of years. So we really appreciate it. We're not asking for any more. We're just holding firm. I just want to kind of update real quick. We always use the funds given by municipalities towards operations of the transit routes. We don't do anything else with it. It goes into operations. So the money that Harpers Ferry Council gives EPTA goes directly to service your stop in Harpers Ferry. So I've just brought a couple of things with me that I want to touch on because for so long, everything was COVID, COVID, COVID. Well, we've kind of all of a sudden bounced past COVID. Our ridership is up. It's back pre-COVID numbers. And so we've got some exciting stuff going on. So we are in the middle of our transit development plan for 2025, which will include the realignment of routes to service the new transit center when it's done. One of the things we're looking at right now, and I've pushed when we did the surveys, Saturday service in Jefferson County was very important to people. So that is one of the higher priorities, and there are plans, as long as we have the financial capacity, to expand to Jefferson County on Saturday service. So I'm excited about that. I think we've needed it for a long time, and that was my priority going into this TDP with our consultants to look at it. But I just want to point out, so we have a half fare card, and a half fare card means you are either 60 and over or you have a verifiable disability. I don't care what it is, not me to judge, medical professional says yes. So 59% of the people who ride are 60 and over or have a disability. And then 78% said that they ride the same or more as in previous years. 42 use the transportation to go to work. And 51% say that they would not be able to make the trip without public transportation. 35 say it would be an inconvenience. So, I mean, I kind of gave you the highlights of our survey and what we were going through with the TEP because it's very important. Seniors, transit-dependent riders are what we're here for. Sure, we have people going to work that choose to use public transit, and that's great. We're talking about the seniors, the disabled, the people that have no other means to get to the grocery store or work. That's the use of public transit. So I did provide you, with our ridership, showing you over the last 10 years where we ended up prior to COVID and where we are today. That's an important number for us that we were glad that we reached that this year because ridership is up. And ridership, which serves Harpers Ferry, is Route 20, and that ridership has tripled this year.
Wow.
So I also broke out demand response, which is the non-emergency medical transportation, and that has strictly been Medicaid reimbursed for a long time. We started in the fall doing Medicare reimbursement transportation too, so those people going to dialysis, if they have Medicare, we can still help them with that. I gave you a quick overview of the new project. The one thing I want to stress about our construction project is it's 21 million, but we have used no local funding towards that project. It's our contract revenue. Initially, our first award was a $4.5 million award for the project, and that is the only one we've had to have local match on. So we purchased the property we're building on, and our board and EPTA have put in $1.1 million. And then the second award was a little over $6 million, and the last was a little over $10 million. But those are 100% federal grants. So our input into the property is complete. We don't have to have any more contract revenue go in as the local funds for that federal money, and we're really excited to get this project done.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. Just a few questions. I'm very excited about the Saturday service. And on that, do you know or can you tell us for the triple demand to Harpers Ferry when they are coming? Is it commuting or is it random? Is it all the time?
It's kind of spread out the day. I mean, Louis, I'm going to have you because he counts the vaults a lot. So
It's sporadic during the day. Excuse me. More in the morning, more in mid-afternoon, later in the evening. People getting off work or doing some of their tasks or errands during the middle of the day. So there's not one specific time that is much higher than the other.
Yeah.
It's just spread all out.
Just the whole river is rising.
Yes, and then to see, like Lane had alluded to the Route 20, just the number of riders that are on that bus now is quite a bit. I've only been up to about a year and a half, but just looking at numbers from previous and then counting vaults and looking at the ridership and everything, it has grown tremendously. And I believe it'll still continue that upward trend. And then hopefully with local funds that will be provided to EPTA for that to start the Saturday service here. I know we've spoken to a couple of other Jefferson County cities. And again, that's one of their things too, is trying to get that Saturday service, and the riders are wanting it and pretty much need it.
Yes, I was going to say, I think we all know, there's limited parking in Harpers Ferry. First, because it seems that if that's something that EPTA could help with, especially on the weekends, I think it would be appreciated by visitors and certainly us as well. So if you are working on those routes, sure, and promote it as well. Pretty good revenue stream too. It's exciting.
Question about stops. Do they, in the summertime with the tourists that are packing our sidewalks and walking in the streets, do you have designated stops in Harpers Ferry?
So, well, down closer to the train station, there's a stop, but we are a deviated system, which means we're a flag stop. Anyone can stop our vehicle along the route as long as it's safe for them to stop, right?
is that something that we could promote?
Sure. Yep, absolutely.
What's that called, deviated? What?
We're a deviated fixed route system, which means we offer demand response, and we are a flag system. We can go 3/4 of a mile off our published route as the crow flies to pick somebody up.
I have a deviated septic.
Yeah, you're gonna help me out with that one. Roberta has her hand up.
Okay, Roberta, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here, Elaine. But a couple questions. So you're saying ridership is up and it's tripled, and you're basing that on the COVID numbers, correct? From COVID to today?
So I'm basing that over last year's numbers.
Okay, so last year,
Yeah, which was probably one of our lowest years.
okay. And,
Headed down. Well,
okay,
I didn't say that. It was trending up, but it wasn't anywhere where it should be.
okay, so that's just 1 year change, it's tripled.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
that's
doubled. Our ridership doubled, but Harper's Ferry this Route 20 ridership tripled in a year.
Route 20 tripled. Okay, let me clarify that. Okay, and then you said on your survey you had a 35% number. I did not hear what that 35% was.
So 35% of the people said it would be an inconvenience to make the trip without public transit, and 51% said they could not make the trip without public transit.
Okay, appreciate that. And then, so if the numbers have tripled, what's your number? What's the what is your ridership number at?
So, the end of fiscal year 24, we ended at 265,473 people.
265,000 plus.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
just-
Amazing. That's
System-wide,
fantastic.
system-wide,
And that's just in 1 year.
1 year.
Fantastic. Okay, and the last question, you said this is going to go for operations. So when you say operations, is that mechanical equipment for the vehicle, or is that salary, or what is that for?
So operations includes driver's salary, vehicle maintenance, fuel, insurance. It's kind of across the board. Every year we calculate what our allocated cost per hour is to run our agency. And that includes, all those things plus depreciation of a vehicle, setting aside money for a new vehicle, for local match. And so it's really important. It can be designated for fuel, for maintenance, but it's easier for us just to say operations.
So,
Okay, and then that flag stop program is fantastic. I had no idea that was available. So yes, please inform us and let's market it, Storm. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Storm.
So this may or may not apply to 2026, hopefully not, or in the future. How dependent or not are operations on federal funds?
We are heavily dependent on federal funds. So we received about $1.4 million in federal funds towards operating, and we have to match that dollar for dollar locally.
right. So that's what I was getting at, is that in the past, what you've told us, and I'm not, it had to do with how many riders I think you were going to get all over the county as to whether or not you were going to be able to sustain that federal grant, if I'm not mistaken.
So our annual allocation federally is based upon ridership.
Right.
So every year we turn our ridership into the state, and the state as a whole then turns the ridership into the feds, and there's some formula that breaks out what each state is going to get federally. And then the state breaks down the formula. We are considered a small urban mass transit, so our federal funding, we're a direct recipient of 5307 funding. If you are a rural agency, that funding goes to the state and they disperse it to the rural agencies.
Okay, so I think last year when you made your presentation, you were concerned that the population of Jefferson
Yeah.
County would exceed the limit at which you would still be eligible for the
So-
federal funding.
Yep, so it all has to do with the census.
Gotcha.
So at the 2020 census, we are 2,436 people away from crossing over into 200,000 for my service area.
Okay,
So that includes Berkeley and Jefferson. It's the urbanized zone,
Right.
and there's a map on the MPO's website that shows what it is. But once we cross over into that 200 plus in residents via the census.
Mhm.
We become a large urban system and we become part of a TMA and we lose operating dollars.
Mhm.
So they decrease immensely.
Mhm.
Now, is that the 10-year census that?
Right, so we still have time on that ticking
So,
bomb. Okay.
Yes, and actually, we wouldn't lose it, I mean, listen, we all know this Eastern Panhandle is growing faster than we know what to do. So we are prepared in 2030 that we will become a large urban and the feds give you like a 3-year
Okay.
period to transition into it. So we probably have till
Right.
2033.
So the way we've handled it this in the past is that we have a spot on our budget that is dedicated to public transit, and we typically provide out of that 4,500, and then 3,000 comes out of economic development, and we have in the past designated that as the match to your federal. So while if it were some other kind of grant and not some other kind of request and not necessarily a match, we would be looking at specifically what we'd be funding.
Well,
But-
it is a match.
Right.
It is
So that's
absolutely
I
a
think
match.
that's what we want to make sure we keep in the language of this particular request is that it is still a match so that you can obtain the federal funds to continue to operate. Right. And that makes it nice and clean. Yeah.
And clearly, that is, this is critical funding for that.
Right.
What's the current status of the Mark Train connector and?
So we still, you mean this one we were gonna go to the Silver Line or just Mark Train itself? Let's do both. So Mark Train, we continue to provide service from Brunswick in the evening, the 2 runs. I do expect that ridership will pick up there because of the president's, whatever he's doing. And the only issue is Maryland no longer provides financing for it, and I don't get any money outside of, no municipalities give me money directly from Mark. But I continue to provide service to Mark and match my federal money with local funds that I, contract money I bring in. I did go to my director, the state director, Bill Robinson, this year and did ask for some help. He did provide some assistance to match Mark money because Shepherd is a contract for us and Shepherd is, they're struggling too. So they're looking at ways to cut their service there a little bit. So I am challenged if Shepherd falls away a little bit.
And is the park still a contract about this?
Park is the contract. In fact, the National Park and I partnered together and I applied for a grant so they could get electric vehicles. They were not eligible for that, so we partnered together. Those electric vehicles are supposed to be sometime late summer. So we continue to partner with them and will.
What were you about to say about the Silver Line?
So we had done a study for the Silver Line, and several years ago, there was a big need for commuters to hook up with the Silver Line at the Ashburn station. At the time, Secretary Riston was all in about it, and then when we had funding for a bus, we designed a route, we did all the consultant work, and we couldn't get the CMAQ from the state for operations.
From West Virginia.
2 questions. At the bottom of your funding request, I can't help but notice that Bolivar is in for 7,500 as Harper's Ferry.
Mhm.
Bolivar has about 6 times our population. Is the request based on population or is it based on, how does that work?
So Bolivar and Harper's Ferry have one designated stop on our schedule. You each do it, and over the years, I just feel it's fair. One stop, we are a flag stop here, so we can stop anywhere, but with one stop in each municipality, I don't feel that it's right to go after more.
Okay, I'm just curious. The other thing is, let's say it's in July, third week in July, and a group of tourists are walking down the street here, a husband and wife and 3 kids. They flag you down. They want to go down to the bottom of the hill and down in Lower Town. What do you charge them? How does that work?
So, if they're not a senior, it's $2 per person
Okay.
every time.
And they pay cash? They
Yeah.
can pay cash? Okay.
Or we have a mobile app, they can do it there.
Okay.
Is there a
And-
type for minors?
So if they're under 9, they ride, or 9,
Yes.
that was, you just threw me with that question. 9 and under ride with their parent at no cost. If they're over 9, then it would be the same $2.
So $2, how far does that get you?
$2 will get you from here to the Save-A-Lot in Charleston,
Oh,
Charlestown.
okay.
So, actually, $2 will get you from the Ransom Town Center
Right.
and this whole area.
Really?
Huh?
So I
That's
can
nice.
go on Ransom and end up in Lower Town for $2?
And what is the?
You can flag it right out of your house.
Sixty
Frequency of
minutes,
service.
60 minutes.
60 minutes. Is there any opportunity for the Saturday service in particular for it to be more frequent?
Probably not.
Right,
Probably.
staffing, yeah, provisionally, not yet.
My guess is it'll be a little bit longer than that because, one route would have to cover what 2 routes are doing now
Gotcha.
in Jefferson County.
Okay.
Thank you.
Roberta, you still have your hand up. Did you have any other questions?
There goes.
Hearing none.
I used to always see your schedule up at ATC, and I haven't checked lately to see if that's still true, but it seems like you provide a great service for the hikers coming in to town. And are you still having direct contact with them, or is that just up to the visitor center?
So, no, well, I'm gonna say, I've had regular contact with those, agencies around the area, except the last year, I've been dealing with a personal issue, with my husband, so I haven't been as active getting out into the community as I was previous to that. So, I'm hoping that that'll change moving forward.
Okay, if there's nothing else, Elaine, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys very much.
Can I get your card so I can buy a senior pass?
Yeah.
I mean,
And let me take your.
the idea is drive up,
Thank
and
you.
you don't have weekend service yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
So, but, I will send, we're gonna have an, open meetings discussing the new,
Okay.
draft schedules and stuff.
The idea is to get a ride up the hill for $1. So you got a card?
I think.
Ride up the hill. No, go down here for a bit now.
Okay.
Yeah. The hill's a challenge.
Well, it's also a good cardio to work with.
Okay, we have David Simmons with BZA. David, I'll give you the same thing that I've told everybody else. Our job in here this afternoon, David, is to listen to your presentation. Our job is not to sit here and critique or second guess why you want this, that, or the other. Sometime in the near future, this body will reconvene, and we've got 22 requests for funding. We will reconvene, and at that time, we will consider all of them and come up with a fair allocation and a fair assessment based on our available funds. So with that, you've got the floor.
Yeah, my request is pretty straightforward. It's a couple of sentences. I've been on the BZA for a number of years, and I think one thing that's often lacking on our boards and commissions is training. And so we get some consistency from year to year, and don't rely on one person who's been there the longest, kind of thing. And when we were, Chris is on the BZA with me at this time, when we were thinking of needing help to do the hotel application review, I came across this group, the WVU Land Institute, who now Zach is using for the Planning Commission Comprehensive Plan. And they were a low-cost alternative for doing some of the review of that application for us if we needed it. So I stayed in touch with them and now talked to them about offering some training to BZA and maybe other commissions and Kevin, the OCO, so that we can, do our job better, understand variances, understand what the state rules are. We're all volunteers. I really want us to kind of get a little bit more professional, a little bit more organized. And I think it's a great way to do it. And this gentleman, Jesse Richardson, he just did this in Shepherdstown last month, I believe. And it was the same thing. And he's the one who suggested me bringing in planning. I just said BZA and Kevin, the OCO. But he said bringing planning because oftentimes there's this, what's my purview, what's your purview going on here? So, the example is like the right-of-ways in town, right? At one point it came to us, like, that goes to planning kind of thing, right? So it was a really good discussion for both parties, both groups to sort of understand what you do and what you don't do. Right now I'm wrestling with, is BZA a board that can be accessed to question or appeal a planning decision? And I think when I read certain sections, it sounds like some decisions you can, but it's not eminently clear to me. So having this resource available to us would be fantastic. But and it's $1,000 he quoted me, you got that. And I did the mileage times the 67 cents a mile and got $1,250. So that's what it costs me.
Okay, so it's a training fee and travel for how many people?
It would probably be, it depends if Zach can convince people to come. I mean, we're a board of 5 right now, plus Kevin is 6. So I think at a minimum of that, don't guarantee everyone's gonna show up. And then if you add the planning commission, that's another 5. And then I don't know, I would open it up.
Yeah.
Members,
Council members,
Absolutely.
they wanna come.
And I think you have office staff here too.
Yeah.
Landmarks.
So, David, Jesse is from the West Virginia Law Clinic.
What clinic?
Jesse,
What the Richard said?
is he associated with WVU Law Clinic?
Yeah.
The Law Clinic.
Yep. They used to be, I think they had something called the Land Institute way back when
Land
we were.
So there's the
Yeah.
WVU Law Land Use Clinic. I think.
Okay.
he's their lawyer. And
Yeah.
He was out on sabbatical when we were
That's right.
getting the planning commission, over the comprehensive plan building, but,
His resume is really good. If you go online and look at his resume, maybe I should attach that, but he's got a lot of years of experience. He's an attorney. And it's about land use, which.
Yeah, and the dean of that, Catherine Garvey, is a very good friend of mine. And I know Catherine very well. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that she is assisting planning with the comp plan, reaching out to Catherine. So yeah, let me know if there's anything I can do. If the council approves this, I can reach out and
He's like,
sweeten the pot a little
it
bit.
sounds pretty simple. He's like, pick a date.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind
this
of already
is,
have the outline ready.
you and I have talked about this
Yeah.
for a couple of years, this whole thing. And we are, as any class 4 municipality, we struggle. We don't have paid professional staff.
Yeah.
We rely on volunteers like
Yeah.
yourself to do it, so.
So,
Okay.
Roberta
I don't
has-
have any questions. Anybody have anything?
Roberta.
Yes, thank you, Debbie, and thank you, David, for bringing this forward. I think the more the merrier. We all need the training. We all need to understand how to read the codes and interpret the codes better. So if town council can approve that everybody attend. And my other question is, why can't this just be a training webinar, a training, we get everybody on the screen and we do a big Zoom? And that would probably help you with the funds of $250 not to have gas. I mean, is that something that's doable, or does he feel he has to be in person with us?
I didn't ask him that question. I do so much Zooming and Teamsing in my life. I feel like you get 60% of what's good. I'd rather have him in person.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And he actually said his mother lives in Winchester, And he said, I'm not gonna charge you a hotel, I'll just stay with it, it's a visit to go see her.
Nice.
So
Okay.
so we're getting a discount already, Roberta, that's what I'm telling
All right.
you, so.
Very good. All right.
Anything else for David? Good initiative,
Yep,
David.
appreciate it.
I just want to remind everyone of the flow charts that we worked a lot of time on, and I'd like to have those, provided to him in the mix so we could get feedback on that. And maybe help along the way.
That'd be good. I don't know where those stand right now. Are they
They
sitting?
were passed by the town council, the last town council.
Okay. So they're sitting where the.
Well, they're around, and I had distributed them last year, I guess, the historic landmarks. I certainly distributed them.
I had a
Planning,
yeah.
MBTA.
Got fine, whatever they did. So that's possible. Okay.
But especially on landmarks, we've had a lot of turnover, and issues keep coming up, I think.
So who owns, well, I guess my point, who owns those documents right now? Like, where do they sit?
Berlissa has them, and I have a bunch at home that I
Yeah,
still divvy out.
but they're not on the, are they on the website somewhere?
I don't believe so.
So ask Verlissa. Verlissa would know how to get them onto a drive that you could access and anyone in those agencies could access.
Yeah, I think broadly anything would be under the town clerk, which is.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Putting in the time.
Thank you.
Everyone
Oh,
tries
please.
to
Thank
steal
you.
that, right?
And everyone,
Yes.
yes, we don't want to know more than we know.
Yes. Thank you, John.
All right, we got another 10 minutes till our next, which will be Kathy Gray. And Roberta, just so you know, while you were traveling, we were able to accomplish quite a few internal office items. So I'll go over the ones that we have yet to do, which
Okay.
is the Merchants Association. In the 3 to 4 slot, we have the town hall. And in the 4 to 5 slot, we have the tree commission. And then we have the parking committee, the salaries, and the police department. So probably what we'll do is once we finish up with the merchants, we'll, in that 3 to 4 slot, we'll take care of as much of these internal ones as we possibly can. I believe the chief will be available here when we need him. I'll go and alert Verlissa that he should come on up here around 3 o'clock. Does that seem right,
How
Mayor?
complicated is the town?
I mean, that sounds great, and then I'll probably cut out at 5 because I got to get on the train by 6.
I think we may be done before 5.
Okay, nice.
Is
Town hall is,
very
yes,
complicated?
there's a lot involved on the town hall one. What did you say?
I was just wondering if we had time now for a town.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm going to let Verlissa know to ask the chief to come at 3, though.
That's what,
The chief to come at 3.
she's gonna cover.
Parking
Police and parking.
Right.
Bertie, your hand is still up. Do you have a question?
Or are you just stretching?
Oh, that's not. Okay.
Is someone there? Did you already talk about the town council salaries?
No.
No, it's still open, okay.
It's probably not that funny, but I mean,
Parking and salaries, okay.
sky quality meter. You know, kind of like a PPPPP. Never mind. So it might be a nice joke.
Oh, well, everything can be adjusted.
Everything would be a joke, but I mean, kind of reminds me of the
Hi, Kathy. Want to come on over here?
Hi, okay.
Get your jacket off and get comfortable, and then there's a microphone there for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
microphone? Oh.
Yeah, just put that on so that we pick you up on the broadcast here.
We have
It's
to,
for the recording, not amplifying.
Okay. Turn the phone off.
And then we need to wait on George, who stepped out. We'll just give him a minute.
All
Or
right.
let me see if I can see what it is.
okay, we're back in session, 2:34. Welcome, Kathy, how are you?
Thanks, all's good.
Good. Kathy's going to be here talking about representing the Merchants Association. And I assume the Old Time Christmas.
Yes,
Let me tell you how that's going to work, Kathy. You've got a request in here for X number of dollars. And the group, town council, there's 4 of us here. Roberta is on the line. We have 2 absent council members. Our job, Kathy, is basically just to listen, okay?
okay,
We're not here going to second guess your request and why do you need this, and that's not our purpose.
okay,
We just want to gather information. So you will then be given the opportunity to present your need.
okay,
And then I'll open it up if any council members have any clarification questions. We're not going to make any decisions today.
okay,
They will be sometime in the future, and we will take all 22 requests from different organizations into consideration
okay,
and come up with a fair equity of available monies that the town has to allocate.
okay,
So with that, let me just turn it over to you, Kath. Very, very informal here, so don't.
okay. Yeah, so Kathy Gray, I'm the Vice President of the Merchants Association. For many years, I'm not sure how many years, 50 years, we've been doing Old Time Christmas. We kind of had to have a set schedule on how we do it. In the past, we've gotten 2 or 3 grants to do the events. Last year, we did not get a town grant because everything kind of got messed up. In the past, one year we got 95-25, but that was for an anniversary event. For this year, I'm asking for $7,600, and that money would be used for some of the events and then to hire a coordinator. It's gotten to the point where we can't really do it ourselves. None of the merchants want to do it. They're all busy. Most of the merchants are one-person shopkeepers. So we are looking to hire an event coordinator, which we did 2 years ago. And I believe I gave you all a list of what everything costs so far, for what we've done in the past. I'm afraid prices are going to go up some too. I haven't taken that into account, but we're hoping it'll stay close to the same.
Yeah, so the numbers Kathy is representing on that Old Time Christmas budget that you see is from 2023. Okay, so this is a good time to talk a little bit about process in that, you know, obviously your event's at the end of the calendar year. Here we are in the beginning of the calendar year, so we understand it's difficult for you to project exactly what your costs will be.
Right.
That's why in the process, we do ask that you come back to us as you are preparing and consolidating and getting estimates on what the real costs are going to be as you approach that date.
Okay.
So you want to be thinking about coming to us probably in October.
Right.
and saying, all right, we know what our greens are going to cost. We've talked to the carriage people. We've talked whatever this, I forget the third item, which was, oh, your event planner.
Yes.
Okay. We're ready to engage in a contract. We'd like to get final approval on this. And if your number moves some, that gives us the opportunity to be able to say, hey, we can help you, we can't help you, or yes, our budget is the same, it's not the same, or whatever.
Okay.
So, that then will go to council for final approval, and then we can work with the reimbursement aspect on the backside. You pay, and then we can just, once you've come, we can then have a much smoother process on the reimbursement process. If you
Okay.
wait until you've engaged and you've paid the contractor and we haven't even seen you, then it gets a little more sticky and complicated,
Okay.
right? So try to get into your schedule coming before budget and finance in October. They always meet on the last Monday.
Oh,
And then
okay.
or of any month, the last
Okay.
Monday, not the fourth, but the last Monday.
Okay.
And then the council meeting's the second Monday of the following month. So that gives us a quick turnaround to get that presentation to council.
Okay.
And then in November, you're solid, right,
Okay.
to contract. So,
Well, my hope is to hire an event planner now,
okay.
so they can start planning.
Mm-hmm,
I'm hoping just to say, this is what we usually do.
mm-hmm,
If you have some fresh ideas, I'm working with Annette at the Visitor Center. She's contacting Shepherd to see if we can find somebody from Shepherd University, like maybe a senior or somebody else that needs a project.
mm-hmm.
I've called all the event planners in the area. If anybody here knows them, call me.
Yeah.
But, so that's where we are now. So if I can get an event planner that can give me how much they charge.
Right.
And then from there, we'll add up, what we can do. We're gonna go to Bolivar and see if they'll pay for the trolley again. I've talked to Kathy Baldo. The bookstore is open to doing the wagon again, the carriage rides
Okay.
again. But again, we gotta figure out what's going on with the government,
Right.
if they're gonna stay
Right.
funded, so.
Oh, well, the carriage that's among the things that is part of the ask.
Yes,
So if the park association does that come off of what would be asked of the town?
well, what I'll do is we'll get the funds, we'll get together how much this is going to cost, how much, we always get the same amount in grants every year, we have for many years. And then we'll see how much money we have in our checking account, because it is the only thing we do.
Okay, and so on that, so it looks like the ask of Parker's Ferry for the next fiscal year is $7,600.
Yeah.
And I see that there are these two grants that are a total of $24,25.
Yes.
What other funding is coming out of that? Like you mentioned, there'll be some out of the Merchants Association themselves.
Dues. So we take dues, which is pretty much donation for Christmas.
Okay.
So if our membership continues to drive, then we're good. In 23, we were in the hole $425. So this year we cut the face painting, which was $400, and we make those adjustments.
Gotcha.
So,
And what's the expected amount that you're budgeting for that would come out of dues?
out of dues, the remainder, I don't have that.
Okay.
So what we do is we have $9,000 in our checking account right now. And that is a holdover for this year. What we collect in dues is a holdover for the next year.
Got it.
That way we never come up truly with no money.
Gotcha.
So, that's been my plan.
Gotcha. I see the total here is $20,025, which was for the prior year, so
Right,
do the math.
right.
Total event cost around $20 million.
Yes, yes.
So I would say if you end up finding an event planner in this spring, it would probably be a good move to come back and just let us know how that's shaping up so that we can solidify that in the 26 budget for you. So,
Okay.
and then as you get to October, we can take a look at these other items
Okay,
for you. But, and I want to say that in the past, the event planner got paid an initial amount and then so there might be a way, we can coordinate maybe the last payment or something like that. I don't know. But the amount, particularly as you go to engage that person, would be good to check back and make sure that we're
and I can keep everybody apprised of
Yeah.
how it's going. Because
Yeah.
what I'm saying is give me a proposal.
Right.
Give me how much you charge, how much you anticipate all these other things are gonna cost. give me a total price, and then and then Mary writes a check, so.
Mhm.
And then when you reimburse us, that's the save over for the
Mhm.
next year.
Okay.
So, I mean, we usually have $10,000 in our account.
And then on the greenery in particular, I know it's kind of fussy, but these are public funds and we need to make sure we're responsible with them. My recollection is like, there's bulk purchase of greenery and some is gonna go on particular merchants.
Yes,
Then we need to be sure that funds that are for greenery are things that are public right of way,
yes.
so that the town isn't
So the
providing.
merchants purchase greenery from us.
Yes.
Because we get a bulk price.
Mhm.
So, in fact, I've got this for you for the town. So the town ordered their greenery from us, and then the town pays us for their greenery, for the gazebo and down
Yes.
the public right of ways. And then any merchants that want to order, we send out a, order form, and then they pay immediately. So it's not illegal.
Got it. Yeah, as long as it's clear,
Yes.
yes, this is the greenery that was going to the public right of way,
Yes.
this is what it costs, then, okay.
Yes, yes.
Question for you.
Uh-huh.
How much did you collect in dues from the merchants last year?
I'm not sure.
You got a ballpark?
No, we have 55 members, it's $120. So 120 times 55. So.
$6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've gotten a few new members this year, so. And it goes up and down as merchants. We've, opened it up to short-term rental owners now too, and like we just got Kevin, Cosa to sign up, and we're working on a couple others to join it, so.
Short-term rental or B&B, or both?
Both.
Both,
But we
okay.
don't really have any B&Bs. I guess we have Stonehouse. I'm trying to think if we have any B&Bs left. Stonehouse is like the only one. Everybody else is short-term rental.
Well, that's,
That's a weird title.
yeah,
Yeah.
even most B&Bs aren't traditional B&Bs anymore.
Correct. Correct.
You know, last year, Kathy, you remember, I tried to attend most of the meetings.
Yeah.
And the Merchant Association is like any social organization.
Yes.
You have 2 or 3 people, and that's it, that do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We had like 9. So we had a meeting Tuesday and we had 12 people.
Yeah.
So, and it is kind of the same, you know, Mary and Dawn and then Karen,
Martha,
the park people, the park consistently show up, Appalachian Trail consistently show up. They have 2 members that come every time now. Lynn and Christian, you know, kind of the same support that want to see this go forward, not let it fall. So,
Yeah, 1971 and 1972, yeah.
yeah, so.
any questions?
No, fair to me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and we're
We're working
open.
on it and
Yeah, we're still working. If anybody has any ideas, we're open. I'm just not ready to let it fall apart, so I'll keep trying.
Thank you, Kathy.
Did you get
I'm
an
taking
email?
Mike. Did you send it today?
Mary sent it last week. Oh, your mic, yeah.
Oh, no, I did not.
Okay, so that's what she sent you. I just printed it out for you.
Okay, well, I'm gonna need, the receipt and the check. That was written, a copy of all that.
Okay, so there's the receipt.
Okay.
Here's the other. I didn't know why she gave me all that in the meeting, but I think that's all she gave me.
Okay, and then I just need a copy of the check that was written.
Copy of the check. Okay, I'll tell her.
All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Oh, these are my credit card.
Okay, Debbie, where did we want to go now?
PD, 3:00.
All right. Yes, that was the Fountain was part of that,
the fountain. was-
and the grass cutting.
Yep, yep, you're right.
We've already done paving, right?
Yeah.
You say you had a hard time getting contractors to look at us to pave it.
I think we've got them now.
We got, so you didn't get a,
Just one.
did you get a variety of bids or just a hard time?
How many bid, I don't know how many bids, it wasn't, I don't really know offhand, but, I mean, they did not report it.
Okay,
Part of the difficulty, like with snow, is there's literally one contractor that bids anymore.
Yeah.
so if we had more snow, man, you know,
Yeah, it's a bigger game.
yeah. That's something, I can get a ride up that hill for $1. That's the best deal in town.
Good deal. Just gotta wait an hour.
Heck of a thing. I mean, depending on when you hit it, you know. If you just missed the bus, you got an hour wait.
There are less pleasant places to wait for a bus.
Well, exactly right, yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's everyone?
All right, how are you?
You said that in the
Oh,
table
we're
over
ready?
there. There's a microphone over there. Are you gonna also speak? Okay.
Come up there, sit aside.
This is your show.
Here, we'll put your microphone on.
Good evening, everyone.
Right, John.
I will go get George again.
Oh, okay. Are we doing the police now, Debbie, or the apartment?
Let's do the police first.
I had the parking on top. I'll flip it around.
All right, so everybody's back. We got the chief here. Chief will be doing the police department now. And chief, I'll just tell you what, I'm telling everybody, your request, we are not going to debate your request. We're not here to get into that. All that we're here is to listen to you. We're not going to question your need. You know your need better than 7 members of this town council. So we'll basically be listening, and then sometime in the near future, this council will reconvene, and we will then make recommendations for allocation of monies. There are 22 presenters requesting monies along with the police department, so you're one of 22. And no decisions will be made today. So we're here just to listen to your need. And if any of the council members around the table or Roberta online have any questions at the end for clarification, we'll just open it up. So with that said, go ahead, John.
So once again, I'm not gonna read my presentation verbatim to you guys because you can all read. But I just want to make reference to the needs that I want to keep moving the police department forward in a positive manner or way, and continue to provide a service that is suitable for all of us to be able to be proud of. So in that request that I'm asking is for 2 additional full-time officers, replacing some vehicles that need to be replaced. I'm also asking for some other 5 new tough pads, which are, our tough pads are the computers that are inside our vehicles, that we receive our data 911 calls in our report system that we do our reports with. These computers stay in our vehicles for us to be able to receive calls from communications. And we're doing our police report through Spillman. Is the system that is put on the tough pads that are in our vehicle. So that the system itself is called Spillman. And then they're put on the tough pads that stay in our vehicles for the officers to be able to. So as I'm responding to a call, I can read notes as current things are coming up instead of putting everything on the radio. The officers can see, if it's escalating or de-escalating. Those notes are constantly being put in that the dispatcher are receiving from the 911 call. We received through donation our ceramic ballistic vests, and I am wanting to get some helmets to go with those vests that to protect our head. So that is one of the requests. And I'm also happy that every 5 years we have to replace the ballistic vests that are on the officers that they wear. It breaks down from the sweat and the weather and other things that are that do damage to the body armor that we wear 24/7 when we're on shift. So I'm requesting to be able to replace everybody's vest and get them new vests. The 5 responder medical bags. you know, those are also important for us to have in the vehicle. Just like when we had the extinguishers in the vehicle, we were able to prevent a fire from getting out of control and probably losing Lower Town again. These bags are important to have for the officers if they're injured or they come upon an injury or a bad wreck where they can start some first aid to control bleeding and things like that until the proper staffing with EMS can arrive to take over the situation. So it's, and the same thing with the AEDs. The AEDs are, when you look at that price, you're probably thinking, oh my God, but you know, we have a grant that we've applied for that. So some of that costing, if I'm correct, won't be as high. That's the unit itself. But you know, the grant looks like it's going to be a good grant for us to apply for, and we'll go through.
It also works a little bit differently than most grants that we apply for. What they do is they qualify the police department or whoever's applying for it, and they give you an amount. And then when you place the order, they take that off of the price. So it's not like we have to come up with matching funds or prove that we can pay for anything like that.
It's a
It
point of
just
sale.
automatically comes off of the price of the purchase.
Is it a federal grant?
It is not, it's through aedgrants.com. And they work with other agencies, I guess, that provide the funds that help the departments pay for their equipment.
And
So
those are,
there is information in there on that.
those are AEDs in the cars?
Yes,
Okay.
And one for in the building.
and yes, and I'm for the safety cones, once again, are just there to assist us in traffic patterns and things like that. If we have to shut roads down or run an accident, we want to just shut down a lane of traffic and have them divert over to the slower and faster lane of traffic away from the wreck or accident. And then we've kind of taken on some things I'm proud of that Mike and Melissa set up the initiative on, is our community meet and greet. We're asking for some funding for that. I think it's very important. The community knows the people that are serving them, and the officers know the community that what they're serving. So, you know, it's something that, you know, I'm very proud of that they took the initiative of getting started to help the community know who's out here representing them and serve. And then the National Night Out, we do that. That's a county event that all agencies participate in. Sheriff's Department, Charlestown, Ranson, Shepherdstown University, and Harpers Ferry, and the state police. We all go to Walmart, or correction, Home Depot, and we set up tents and we introduce ourselves to the county, and we give the kids gifts and drinks and hot dogs and hamburger. And you know, once again, it's about community oriented and them getting to know the officers and community in which we're representing. And then grant writing. I think it's very important that we have someone. I know we can go through the Regional 9, but I think it's important that we also have somebody within our department or within the town that can do this as well, and be able to look for grants and help us write grants. You know, I'm not a grant writer. I'm not going to pretend to know all the keywords that they look for. But I think it's best that we have people that are trained that know those keywords to be able to put them in grants so we can get representation and funding for our town and department. So that's what I'm basically asking for the police department. And like I said, once again, with the 2 additional officers, I hate to repeat myself, but this is just preparing for the future. I think there's going to be a need for those 2 officers in the very near future, and I want to be prepared for that need. So I think that's very important that you really sit down and take a hard look at it once you figure out what's going on.
That's all a question.
Yes, sir.
On the page here where you listed the amounts by the items, I see 7 mentions of possible grants. When will we know how much those amounts of those grants are?
So when we apply for the grants, we don't normally, it takes several months. We apply in June. You know, do evaluation of those grants and do assessment on what we have and what we're trying to do within that area, which we just applied for a grant, for COPS grant for assistance to have them assist us with hiring another full-time officer. Of course, we were denied in that, but, we normally have those put in by June. And, it's usually several months out while they're doing an assessment and evaluating all the applicants before they let us know who's granted.
So I take it next week we'd be voting on some of these things without knowing what possible grants, how much money would come off of that based on that answer. Also was wondering, you've mentioned on the tablets, they said there was a mandated, I'm getting my wrong
Yes,
page
Jefferson
here.
County
Yes,
is
that's what you make, yes.
mandated upgrade.
Mandating an upgrade after a particular time period. Where are we on that rotation?
So we currently, the last time I believe and actually the county came up with a grant, so we didn't even have to pay as much money as I thought we would be, and they may come up with a grant this time. Everything depends on, hinged on funding, but if they don't come up with a grant to assist all the agencies, this is what it would cost us to do the 5 tablets for the vehicles. So where are we at? We just did probably, I want to say 5-6 years ago, and now they're pushing Windows 11, which the units are having problems. They're outdated.
So they are at the edge.
Yes,
So
sir.
they're at the horizon of their 5 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay, real good. And the same question about the vests. You said we got a 5-year expiration on the vests.
Yes,
Where are we on that?
we're pushing the edge of that also.
We're at the edge of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also, I noticed that we don't have a total of the numbers presented on your sheet here. So do you have a total, or that's forthcoming?
So you mean in the total list? I have the columns list of what everything's going to cost, but I don't know if we're going to be funded for those things. So what I have listed is the cost of what each thing is going to cost us if we're approved. I don't have a total for the overall budget request.
So I'm curious about how we vote on each item, or we vote on a total, or,
Well, it can be rolled up for the deliberative meeting.
okay. The last question is, this is labeled as funding request for the police department, but the list here only talks about increased funding. So these are the increases over a certain base number, I take it.
Yes, sir.
Will we have the base number to vote on,
The base number is already in the budget.
already in the budget? So we'll have that next week to look at.
No, we're gonna be working on these things next week.
So we're only voting on increases and not on a base budget for the.
Yeah, we're gonna have to leave that for next week. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
John, are the lethal weapons that your officers carrying now, are they at the highest level of effectiveness? Or is a lethal weapon that other departments are carrying that are more effective than what we're carrying?
So I know normally, let me just say, I just purchased those new weapons several years ago. I can't remember.
Like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
No,
and-
maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, but those weapons are, we went, each department gets to select their standard. Most departments follow the FBI in what they're carrying and what they recommend at the time, because they do a lot of ballistic testing and things with the weapons. They went to a 9mm. We stayed with the larger caliber. For the punch power, whether you're punching through a door, a vehicle door, those larger bullets have a better chance of penetrating than a smaller bullet. So there's a punch power with those, and we chose when we were selecting our guns to stay with what we were currently carrying, the 45s.
And the other question I have is, are the current ballistic vests that your officers are wearing, are there newer grades that are defeating rounds, that maybe your current vests can't defeat?
So with vest, you need to understand, there's gonna be ballistics that, the vest will not defeat. That we wear underneath our uniforms. So in answering that question, it's not always gonna be 100%. You don't know, if that vest is gonna support the impact or if it's gonna fail. I know with smaller caliber guns, the velocity on the spin of the bullet is greater than a heavier bullet. And they have a tendency of ripping right through the vest, where a larger one kind of grabs in and locks into that netting that is there to stop a vest. And most ballistic vests don't stop 22s. So if I get shot with 22, it's not going to stop that bullet because of the velocity of the spin of the bullet. And usually, 22s ricochet off your bone once they enter your body. It might go in one point and come out clearly. You can come out of your foot. You jump on the bone and fall out. Of course, you path your body.
Okay, any other questions for the chief?
So your statement here about the police department currently experiencing abundance of overtime, exhausting all hours designated for a part-time officer due to insufficient coverage. That's based on 2 part-timers that we have that are averaging about 22 hours a week between the 2 of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And in saying that, if I may, with those, I would still want to, even if you guys said, John, I'll give you 1 full-time officer, I'm still going to need those part-time officers because we have guys that are putting in for leave requests, medical. So it's about putting the best service that I can out here for the community to have when a need is called upon for us to respond. And that's where I think we lag behind where other departments are so farther along than what we are.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? All right, chief, do we want to do the parking now, do?
Yeah.
Chief, go ahead and jump into parking.
So, once again, I'm not gonna read this verbatim. You guys can read it for yourself, but the parking committee, along with the planning committee, we were supposed to get together, or we did get together, as far as riding around and looking at the signs. The chairperson, Zach Morris, Melissa, myself, and Nina all went around, evaluating our signs and seeing, what we could do better, in making our signs visible, legible, and making sure everything's at, the standard height that it needs to be, so motorists can be able to read and understand our signage. So in that, I had Melissa put a list together when we were going around, and we had several signs that are faded out, that aren't legible, that aren't the right height, that don't have the right wording on them. We had several stop signs that were faded out, several speed limit signs, and we have a count of all of that right here, and it's over 232 signs that we need to have replaced within our town to be able to, I don't want to say come in compliance because we're not really out of compliance, but just to be able to have it all set up the right way. And that cost is approximately $7,300. And we shot a little bit on the high end for that. We didn't include the post because we know we're a little high for the signage, and that might be so that cost could cover some of the posts that we have to do to replace for our signage. I think it suits us well to get the signage in place and set up the right way, have everything uniform instead of rolling up on a sign that's 2 foot. It needs to be 8 foot. And, you know, by law, we're not in compliance with those things.
So basically, a total signage refresh
Yes,
as
sir.
far as traffic and parking signage.
Yes, sir. And if you look at this, you can see they're not really the parking signs. They're just residential signs, no through traffic, no left turn. They're just, you know, signs that over the years have faded out. You know, they didn't have the proper coating to sustain, and that, you know, they just washed out and they're not likable.
We also noticed that a lot of the signs, especially the residential signs, there's multiple different colors, like some are like a burgundy color faded and some are brown. And the wordings, there's like 4 different wording to those signs, in the same way with the no parking signs. Some are smaller, some are bigger. So this kind of goes along with the new residential sign that was designed. It's in your packet. That copy is not good. It looks black. It's not. It's green. And it looks like this. So the idea was to make sure that all of our signs that are town signs are green to go along with these signs, and everything's uniform. And it'll have the protective coating to keep them from fading like the old ones did.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look on the board behind you, there's a lovely drawing up there by Mayor Vaughn. And the square inside of the big square is the actual sign, the size that these signs will be.
Which are 18 by 24.
24. And we've ordered 3 of them as just to put up, we have to put 3 up in specific places that we discussed in the prior committee, but it'll be so that you all can see the sign and see what it's going to look like as well.
So it sounds like the town permit signs and no parking would all be
Uniform.
at one time because we want to keep them uniform.
Yes, sir.
How about the traffic regulation signs and all? I'm imagining in various conditions. Is
They would all be.
this for getting all of them at once?
Yes,
or
sir. Yes, sir.
Is there a need for that?
Well, we could do it in steps if that's, like, we wanted to get all the stop signs done first. And then all the speed limit signs, because they're technically the regulatory signs. And then we could do like, replace all the no parking signs, and then replace all the, it wouldn't have to be like order every single sign that the town needs, all at one time and get them all installed.
there's a
So we
chance for
could do it,
rotating-
yeah.
rotating those in.
Right. But I'm under the impression that if we're gonna do it and we want to look professional and as a town should look, we need to do it, have it done, so we don't keep pushing it down the road, because we have a tendency of wanting to push things down the road and they get forgotten or forgotten about or not taken care of.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
You had mentioned we were replacing signs that were faded.
yes,
So this 232 represents only the signs of their types that are faded, or the entire class of those
the
signs?
232 are all the signs that I have listed.
Right,
here
yes.
So, yes, so,
Almost every sign in town is faded,
So
except
that's
for
what I'm
some of the
going
stop
for.
signs.
Because I got 2 different senses. So, but you're saying almost all the signs in town are faded to the point where they should be replaced, is what
Yes,
you're
sir.
saying?
yes. Or
I
down
see.
next door, or,
Okay.
And tell me what you said again about posts.
so, there's posts that we could buy where we could put, they're like a 4-sided post that I could screw stuff on different ways. So it wouldn't be a lot of those posts. I could have a stop sign here, and then underneath of it, and I'm just throwing this out, we have a one-way street cutting across that intersection. We could attach that one-way sign to say one-way, or, so
Or
it's,
some of the poles that are, like, a lot of the speed limit signs are only 4 feet off the ground and they need to be 8 foot.
Yeah.
So we would have to replace the pole because they're not tall enough.
So there's additional cost for the poles.
Yeah, the
Posts.
pricing that is there is only from one website. So we haven't done, didn't have time before the meeting because we just did the sign inventory like week before last. So we can look for various vendors, and almost all of the ones that I have kind of checked into offers a discount, but I didn't do an order, so I couldn't apply a discount to it, so it'll kind of make up the difference if we
Right,
need signs.
yeah. So the
I
likely
mean,
savings
poles.
should cover the pole cost.
And also, installation, what's the thought on the installation?
So, we could have, my train of thought is we have, Larry and we have Tim, who's a state road employee that works part-time for us, that could assist Larry in getting these things set up until we're able to get things moving forward. It's just a train of thought that I thought, we could utilize him to help out. That could make sure everything's regulation for us as well.
Roberta has her hand up.
That's-
I have
I
a
think Roberta has
question.
a hand up.
Yes,
Roberta,
ma'am.
go ahead, Roberta.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for presenting this, and thank you, Melissa, for your hard work on, from both of you on this. Couple quick questions. I would hope before any signs are purchased, and I mean this with all due respect to both of you and your team that put this together, is you work with the Planning Commission and the report that we received from the West Virginia DOH, which gave us, where the clearances had to be for visual clearance for no parking. So I hope before you purchase any signs to that regard, no parking signs, and the placement of those signs, you work very closely with the Planning Commission and also with the West Virginia DOH contact, Kevin Clohan, that presented and prepared the report for us. And also that I'm assuming all the signage that you have presented does follow the transportation green book, technicality, size, color, size of font, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll make sure that we're working with a transportation engineer. It sounds like you do have someone that you're working with, but I just hesitate that we make sure that we have a transportation engineer working with us, because we are not of that capacity. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so I appreciate, hopefully before any signs are ordered, we get the Planning Commission involved and we work together on this to make sure we order the right amount of signs and put them in the right place. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The signage that the state would be involved in would be on Washington Street. And we're just bringing our side city streets in compliance with what it would be on the main street.
And all of our regulatory signs, Roberta, must comply with state code. We have stop signs right now that are 4.5 feet off the ground. So,
Right, but I just don't want these signs to be placed arbitrarily, especially along Washington Street.
we're aware of all that. And we are, our regulatory signs, our state regulatory signs will meet code.
Deb?
Anything else?
Yeah, so, just because it is a component of the entire parking department, and I don't want to veer into executive session oriented discussions, but it is something I need in order to plan the budget. The seasonal hours for the parking attendant in this current year are already exhausted. So I just need kind of a yes or no answer as to, because it is a seasonal position versus a full-time position, has there been consideration for the hours that will be required for that particular position in fiscal 26? Or is it are you just assuming it will remain the same as is already allocated now?
I would say we start him, what I did last year. We started in March because it was warm enough, things started picking up.
Okay, but I'm talking about the fiscal year. So its hours are already exhausted for this fiscal year, and this isn't a problem-solving session. I just need to know about starting in July, which begins the next fiscal year, and going to June. Has there been any consideration to the amount of hours required for that person yet within the parking department?
Well, I would take that back before the parking committee and we could discuss it. I don't want to speak out of turn without speaking to them first.
I think the question is, if that person is going to be involved with this project, are those hours coming out of the total hours allocated, or will it be on top of hours?
Well, I would probably try to make sure it goes this. If it was a day that things that slowed down, he could work on that, so. probably
He
have-
works Monday through Friday for
Friday.
state roads, so he's only available on weekends or holidays anyway, which is what he works now. So it probably would fall within what
Those hours.
he's already scheduled.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, let me try to clarify what I think that he's saying. That beginning July 1st,
His new hours would be.
to do a reassessment of Tim's hours. You know how we ended up this year with, you know, he was over a lot with his hours, and I think, have you done an assessment of needs beginning July 1st?
To be honest with you, no, I haven't.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's just honest truth about it.
Yeah.
You know, I look at, how Tim, generates, the need, that, for the job he does, and the enforcement that he does, should be speaking for itself. When we look at what he does, as far as, during the parking enforcement, during our peak seasons. If that makes sense to you. He's producing.
Well, I don't think anybody's question, I don't want to get into.
Okay, but this is, yeah, no
Nobody's
is an okay
questioning
answer.
Whether he's producing or not, it's a matter of, we establish a budget at the beginning of the fiscal year, and we try to stay within that budget, not only on Tim's hours, but Larry's hours and Kevin Hamilton's hours.
My hours.
And all that sort of stuff, so, I don't know, I don't want to beat
Yeah.
this horse to death.
No, I just need to know if that's been considered or not, so that I know what to do.
And on my response to you would be no,
Okay.
that would be a parking committee, as a group, not mine. I just, you know, see to it that he's meeting the need that I.
Okay. All right, anything else for the chief?
No.
Chief? Thank you.
Thanks.
Okie dokie.
What we got next?
All right, so next, we could probably do the town hall stuff. That gives you a half an hour on that there.
Yeah, which one?
The town hall.
Yeah. Okay, should have that.
That is gonna be item
I think Roberta's got a couple things in this one too.
P.
Where's it?
This is item P, if you are following that way.
Item P, town hall.
Yep.
The big one I have on there
Okay, thank you.
is, I've already,
Thank
we preliminarily discussed this in the TC meeting. We just need to put this on record as a placeholder. I understand that we do not have 250K to allocate for the space downstairs. That space downstairs has been vacant, I think, since Wayne was mayor, which I think was somewhere, or was it when I was mayor before that?
No, Wayne.
Was it Wayne? Okay, so it's been vacated, sitting vacant. It's an asset to the town. There were a couple starts at probably looking at the feasibility of renting that. I know Patty worked on a couple vendors. That didn't work through. Then we get into the issue of office space. And that's where we are with the issue, or with the item that we talked about. I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that. I don't expect us to, next week when we discuss decisions on funding, that we're going to allocate 250K. Debbie and I did have a discussion last week or the week before that, and I said to Debbie, basically, when other municipalities or public entities have a need for a large asset, how do they go about funding that? Because we cannot encumber the next town council coming in with a debt. How in the world do we go about that? And so Debbie and I talked, and one of the things that can be done is, I forget that we can set up a fund, what's the title of those, Debbie?
Well, the council can basically assign funds within our assigned fund balance that it becomes a carry forward amount that remains as is like your reserve to build up to the point where you would have that money sitting there. So we're kind of doing that for a police vehicle,
Right.
kind of doing that for some other projects that we have some matching funds for projects in the town.
Yeah, so we cannot go out and bring in this builder and then this town go out for a loan and get a mortgage on that space downstairs and pay $850 a month a mortgage payment. That's illegal. We can't do that. One of the things is, especially in an assigned account, that each council, can put in a certain amount of money in this account, and that can go beyond this council and go into the next 2 or 3 councils.
You're saying a savings account.
Yeah, sort of,
Well, it's,
whatever you want.
it's only on the books and it's not by law and only by town council at that moment deciding for it to carry forward. So if a new council comes in.
Right, but
Besides-
in effect, savings
It's
account.
kind of like that. It's,
within
I mean,
our own book.
it doesn't move to another account. It sits in our general fund,
Sure.
but it's in a ledger that says, okay, yeah,
Kind of a layaway instead of.
kind of,
Layaway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Credit.
And I think it's incumbent on this council to at least start something with there. It's been fallow for 6, 7, 8 years or whatever. So, let's do something with that. Take an initiative and
So,
try to move forward.
so if we ask to create an assigned fund with a goal of $250,000 that we would get to.
Yeah.
Or
By the time
whatever.
we get to that, it'll
It
be
need to
probably
be 500,000,
300,000,
whatever, right.
But it's a start to use that asset, instead of sitting there where we put storage and a couple other things.
Now, we're not debating or the merits of this at any point. That's for next week.
Yeah, just clarifying what
Just
the ask
clarifying.
is.
Okay.
So we're not asking for $250,000 right now, but to start socking away funds.
To creating an assigned fund balance
Yeah,
to build towards that is what he's asking.
yeah.
Right, but we're not debating the
No,
merits
no.
of making that assigned
That
fund.
he's clarifying what the
What
request
the
is
request
for.
is, right.
Exactly. I just want to bring this issue up, George, and see if we can get some steam moving forward to go in some direction.
Okay.
We've been getting some rent money from the post office seasonal, right?
Well, we do get.
No,
Not for that room.
not anymore. Last year they did not do it and we do not have, that was a big thing during COVID because their demand was so great then, but it's not now. Yeah.
And it was the minimus anyway.
Yeah, he's right. It was nominal.
Yeah. Roberta?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for putting this on the agenda. I have been reading some of your old meeting minutes, and it seems like, yes, this has been a long task, wanting to happen. It looks like you, in the past, previous mayors went to what you call the Community Partnership Grant. And on many occasions, you were able to get funding to renovate parts and pieces of Town Hall over the years. So maybe we can reach out to that and apply for that again over the course of X number of years. But I am assuming also, Debbie, that this item goes on a capital improvement list, and that capital improvement list and budget tags and earmarks this money going forward. And we have a goal of XYZ years to get this money in place, and then on that final year, we spend it.
It's part of the idea.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, and we have worked in the past with the community partnership or funding. I believe that came through Region 9.
I guess. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can talk
it
to them
did.
about that.
I remember, Roberta, getting one of those years ago. That was through Region 9, I believe. Okay, so let's continue with Town Hall. And the next one, let me talk quickly about where you have it in front of you. It's for an RFP for a contractor. What I'm looking at is something very, very similar to what we have done with Green Ridge with our water department, where we have a go-to company that something pops up and we give Green Ridge a call and they come in and we don't have to go out and solicit 3 bids to dig up a section of the street and lay 25 feet of pipe. We've already done that. there are a lot of issues surrounding town hall that I believe would benefit from a similar program set up with an RFP for town hall maintenance, because there's a lot of things on the exterior of this building that go beyond Larry's scope. We have soffit and fascia boards 25 feet above ground that are rotted. We have all kinds of issues on the exterior that we need the capability to bring in a GC through an RFP that we pick up and say, hey, listen, our gutter fell and it's laying in the street, and can you come over and put that in there? It just will make things a lot simpler, and I think that we can enhance the appearance of the town hall, which Roberta has done a very good job in outlining some of the needs around the building. But I think that there are several structural issues that a general contractor on contract with us at a call can come in and solve the issue, very similar to how we deal with Greenridge. So that was the thought on that.
So is the ask both to go through the process to select, we want to say, a preferred contractor, and also to assign a budget to it like we have with maintenance of mains? So it would be based on, we know this field of things right now and pull a certain dollar amount? Is that?
Not necessarily the dollar amount. And let me just clarify that we refer to Greenridge. It just so happens that when that RFP ran its course, Greenridge was the only applicant who passed the bar on that. The intention here would not necessarily be one, it's 1 to 3 qualified general contractors. So I don't want it to sound like that. And in that choosing, you set it up so that you have an idea of what they would charge you in an emergency kind of a situation. But when you're not in an emergency, as we would have done with the other, had it been more than one contractor, and we still do when it's not an emergency, we say, okay, we have this problem, please quote me on what it's going to cost. So we do go through a quote process, even if it's not an emergency, but it gives you somebody in an emergency, right? In terms of figuring out a dollar amount to do some of the work that needs to be done, that's sort of a secondary piece of the puzzle. This is.
Oh yeah, I just remember before we'd selected any contractor, there was a basket of things we knew we wanted to do to hunt down leaks.
Right, okay,
And
so.
there's a similar thing. with
Okay,
town
so
hall.
that's a fair, okay, so I see what you're saying. So that's a fair, we could certainly come up with 3 or 4 things that we'd like to have looked at and qualify and put them into the RFP for comparison purposes, yes.
Okay, any other questions on that one? Okay, let's move real quickly to sort of kind of like enhancement of the appearance. The one on involves down Potomac Street, Reeves, and Bose on the street lights to I think enhance the attractiveness during holidays. One of the thoughts also was all of our street signs. I think Bolivar does an excellent job on their streets where they have the American flag. And I think that it would be, particularly in Harper's Ferry, with the historic nature of the town, where we have flags mounted very similar to Bolivar, and it would go all the way from the Bolivar light all the way down to Shenandoah Street. And so, it's a nominal amount of money, but I think in the end, the appearance factor and beautification of the town, because after all, it's the town that brings in, the town monies. And that to me is a little bit of an expense to enhance the appearance and vitality of Harper's Ferry. So any questions on that? It's just
So is that 2 separate, so there'd be some sort of decor on the poles on Potomac Street, plus mounted on Washington Street.
Okay, but also timing is very different. So the reason, Bose, is simply for the seasonal Christmas season. We already do it every year. And it was sort of part of what the merchants did, but then not, or maybe it was, or back and forth. There was a lot to go around about that. So we're just saying, let's just grab that and hold on to it so we're sure it gets done. The other item is for other times of the year, when you might want to put flags out. And as time goes along, when you start out with the American flag, as time goes on, you may want to turn that into a seasonal flag. The cost of flags, 14 flags and $20 a piece, which actually is a high number, is $300. So for $300, you could be putting Christmas things out if you wanted to do that. So these are actually two different projects here. Yeah.
Got
And Roberta has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Roberta.
Yes, has the town ever thought about naming rights? In other words, I've always, when we were doing fundraising, always looked for sponsors. So in other words, let's say we get a sponsor for this decoration, or we get a resident who wants to have a naming right for this decoration or this light or whatever, and we put a little brass plaque and said, this has been donated by or sponsored by XYZ. Has we ever done anything like that to help get the funding?
So I don't know that we've ever done anything like that in the time that I have been here. On the other hand, these particular items are kind of temporary decorations. I mean, I could see something like that going towards the fountain restoration, which I don't think you were here in that part of the presentation, but that's going to be a costly thing to renovate that fountain and get it functioning well. I could see something applying in that case. If somebody wanted to make a donation, we can make a plaque saying that, you know, the restoration of this fountain was in honor of whoever, however you. But these are temporary things. They're going to go up and down, up and down. I don't know that you'd put that on a flagpole, you know.
But yes, proffers are allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Projects.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Roberta, instead of me trying to speak for you, why don't you go ahead and take the floor on your three initiatives real quick?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, so the first one I had labeled as Project 4, Phase 4, repaint town hall entry. And the entry I'm thinking about is, you know, the elevator on up through the stairway where we come in. Typically, everybody comes in where the outside bulletin boards are, and we come up the stairway to the bulletin boards. We take that left-hand turn and go to meet Kathy or Pat or Melissa at the ringing of the bell door. So what I'm proposing is, and if you know the Harpers Ferry Foundation kind of logo where you see the monochromatic blues in a wavy formation, kind of depicting the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains and that thing. And so what I thought we could do and have volunteers to do is to take that mural up the stairs, the blue striping, changing monochromatic blues, up to maybe yellows, up to the ceiling and on the ceiling. So again, it gives that cleaned up look, another welcoming, kind of brightens up the place, cheers up the place. And at the top of those stairs, when you walk up, there's the new logo that we have made, or maybe it's the existing logo we have that's been cleaned up, and we got the new town colors and whatever at the top of those stairs, or even right when you come in at the elevator entrance, at the stairs, at the lobby entrance. So just kind of those things. And again, I'm always going out asking for donations of paint. Lowe's and Home Depot are famous for doing that. And so I'm thinking we can do that. And then volunteers to paint, I'd be happy to do it myself if no one wants to help me. So that's where the volunteer and the donations come from. Project number 3 is, what did I have project number 3? Let's see.
The town hall parking.
Oh, yes. So here again, it's kind of in conjunction with maybe what might happen with the dumpsters. I think there's a more efficient way and safe way to maybe lay out our parking. I see many times we have visitors here and there isn't enough parking for them. So again, I'm talking to the refuse companies on how their trucks need to come in and pick up, back up and turn around, or just able to maneuver. What's their clearances? So they're working on getting that information to me. But basically restriping our parking lot so it's more efficient. But the priority that we need to have for our town, we are out of compliance with ADA right now on how we get someone from our handicapped parking space to our back door elevator. So my proposal is to relocate that handicap spot to a closer location, stripe off the required safe zone, which is 5 feet safe zone, and get them to that back door and elevator a lot safer than crossing a lane of traffic. So, and then we would be in compliance with ADA. And again, if we put that under maintenance, I don't know where we'd put that, for budgetary concerns, but that was my primary concern. And then again, as we go up those back stairs, it's looking kind of messy back there. I'm always picking up the trash cans, turning them right side up, or moving them away from the stairs because they smell. So we need to clean up our back door too, as well as our front door, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay,
And the last one is
And let's see.
landscaping in front of the town hall.
The last one, and like we kind of talked about this last year, Storm, if you remember when you guys were doing the stairway botanicals and the baskets that needed to be replanted. Can we get a community flower garden? Can we get our women's club? Can we get other people who have beautiful parts and pieces in their yards to donate and make our town hall look nicer? And again, volunteering their overgrowth, volunteering their overgrowth of flowers, their bulbs, their offsprings, and planting them around town and making it a low maintenance kind of thing where we don't have to trim the shrubbery. It comes up every year. It's a symphony of blooming as we go through the year. It doesn't have to bloom all at the same time. We plant it so it blooms periodically throughout the year, and I think that would just be great. So that's it.
and anybody have anything on Roberta's?
So, pretty clear.
It's pretty clear, Roberta. It's, I don't think anybody disagrees with any. It's a de minimis amount of money, when we get to that point. So anybody, anything on anything? Thanks, Roberta. Okay, so now we are.
So now, we have until 4 o'clock, the tree commission comes, and the last thing is the, employee staff and town council salaries. So we could possibly, we have like 12 minutes.
We could start on.
Do you want to try to
Yeah, that's fine.
deal with that now? Okay. And this is not deliberation, so that's a
Yeah.
tricky wicket there. You take the ball.
Every time a council is in a voting year, there is discussion about town council stipends and employee salaries. And we are in an election year now, so this is a good time for that cycle. It's illegal in a non-election year to even consider particularly stipends for council members. It's illegal, but you can do that during an election year. I know that George brought up an issue, I don't know, a month or so ago, 2 months ago, at the council meeting, about the recorder's position and this, that, or the other. I think if we're going to look at any position, any elected official's position, as far as stipends, we need to look at all positions for stipends. And then we need to focus on employees. And I've said this 1,000 times. The most important asset that we have in this town are our employees. We need to make sure that our employees are adequately funded in their salaries. And I will continue to fight for that because I deal with it every single day. So I don't know how you all want to start on this. We can start with the elected officials if you want for a discussion.
It's hard to do that without deliberating, but I
Yeah.
think that we can discuss the framework for the deliberation, like in particular, what the basis, the information that would be required to make a responsible decision. I know when we looked at both salaries for all positions for and town council and recorder and mayor, we were looking at comparable municipalities, understanding that we are in some ways unique, and that just sort of just not pulling it out of the air for nothing. So, but it's a matter of deliberation once we have that information to be able to cross compare and then have that discussion. I don't know if we can say anything beyond that. That wouldn't.
I don't think that we need to each to pontificate our particular position on supporting or refuting this, that, or the other. This is not the forum for that. But I do think that it's our responsibility to broach this subject in a reasonable manner, in a deliberative manner, and that's not today. I think that we should go forward with looking at the feasibility of both elected and paid employees. So that's my position. George or Chris or Roberta? you have
I have
anything?
thought, and this is framework, okay, and as to say framework as to go forward or not to go forward. And since I brought up the idea of recorder, I've had occasion to watch where the situation in Washington is going. And as I say to Storm at the beginning of the meeting, I'm a native of Washington, D.C., and I'm witnessing something that's unprecedented in my lifetime, my father's lifetime. And that is a contraction in the labor market in the Washington, D.C. region. And I think that we're going to be faced, we don't know. The future at best is uncertain about our revenue. I lived in a state which experienced an extreme contraction in 1987 and depended on tourism in the state of Vermont. And everything turned upside down. Everything turned upside down. And I think of all the things that we looked at today, the one that is the most, that we could put off, and I know it'd be for 2 years, but the one that we could put off is council and mayor and recorder salaries. So I've had a come to Jesus moment on that whole thought since I brought it up. And I don't want to deliberate, but just saying, I really,
I'm not sure though, George, that the depression in Washington now with the federal workforce is going to carry over to a municipality. And the reason I'm saying is I recall, if we think back to COVID,
sure,
when everything was depressed, and we think where we were at that particular time in 2019 and 2020, the merchants in Lower Town had their best, they almost had their summer season in January and February. We had some of, I believe, some of the highest revenue levels at that particular time. Now, I also believe that if things continue to go south with the federal government, which I think is going to,
yeah,
we saw a hit here in the Park Service. I don't know if it's 8 or 10 right now.
9.
It's 9 now.
I
I anticipate that's going to go
Yeah.
beyond that. I also anticipate that the superintendent is not going to be given the authority to fill any of the open FTEs. I also anticipate that when that occurs, I think an additional burden will be placed on this town, particularly in enforcing and protecting the physical assets of the government.
Yeah.
Right now, we respond to alarms, we respond to other things when they go off duty at a particular early evening time. I think we're going to be picking up that slack, and I'm going to be discussing some of that.
I have and have for a while had a lot of thoughts about this, but I think this is very clearly deliberative.
It is deliberation.
But I will say this, as far as process and what we might do, if anybody feels like they want to bring either town council, mayor, recorder, or salaries to bring that data.
The
on
data, right.
26th.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think there's much
That's-
more we can do than just to say that. at this
And
point.
right on cue.
Perfect. Come have a seat at the table.
Okay.
Right on cue.
Okay. All right, so we have the,
No, it's freezing out here.
Well, it's not freezing in here,
all right, so we have Christie and Robert in here representing the Trip Commission. And Christie, I'll tell you that you were one of 22 individuals coming in requesting monies. And right now, all that we're going to do this afternoon is listen to you, and we want to know what your need is and what your projection is. And we're not going to get into a discussion or debate your need. That's not up to us. You are the one who determines your need not us. So we're here to listen. And then sometime in the future, next week or whatever, we are going to meet as a deliberative body and discuss all 22 submissions and try to come up with a fair and somewhat, hopefully, equitable manner of spending town monies to support the 22, if we have the monies even to do that. So that's how I want to proceed. So let me just turn it to you, Christie, and just go over your needs with us. And if we have any questions for clarification, we'll just yell them out.
All right, well, as I say every year, it's too early for me to know exactly what our needs are because the tree company that we have come out and look at the list that I start preparing at this time won't be able to until things start budding out and you can see what's dead and alive. So I have no clue.
But you have an $8,000 request.
Yeah, because that's what we've been using every year for a while now.
Okay.
That, well, would need to use. We've had trees fall down because we didn't get to them in time. That saved us a little money when it was a state right away.
Yeah, you're kind of in a unique position. You're at the mercy of the insects and the wind
And the wind
and all that.
and all that.
It's hard to plan for that, I get it. So this is a comparable request,
Yeah.
Christie, every
Yes,
year, it's
right.
around $8,000.
But now, I will also tell you, got my email where I said, we may not get paid
Yes.
by the state.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that will be a difference in consideration.
Yeah.
I mean, while at the
Right.
same time you are in a unique
Yeah.
position dealing with forces of nature and upon the trees, you're also not alone in the planning cycle.
I
Many
figured that.
people do not know exactly what their needs will be if they're planning an event for next April and they haven't even done their event for this April.
Right.
So it's not uncommon, and that's why we have the process that we have,
Right.
so that as your plans develop and solidify, you can come forward and say, okay, this is what I want to do. I got the money. We're ready to go with this grant, as you do normally. And we also know that when that happens, a tree can fall and mess up your plans. So we do our best to work in around this number, and that's really what we need to budget. The important element to understand in this moment, I think, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do not know if we will get in fiscal 25 the matching monies that we thought we would, and therefore we probably should not count on that in fiscal 26.
Question on, you mentioned the uncertainties about federal money, but is the grant that we've been depending on, is that coming from the state or is
It's
it?
a faster.
It's a United States Forestry grant passed through the state.
Okay,
Mhm.
it is federal.
Yes, it is.
We can anticipate them being affected from the Forest Service.
Oh, sure. And I've heard from Bob Hanna that he doesn't know if his position's gonna be filled.
Affected. Mhm.
And he
Yeah.
says he might resign early so that Sam Adams, who's the new guy coming in, will have a chance to have the house.
So,
Anybody have any questions? I think Christie's is pretty well straightforward. If anybody has any questions.
Now, thank you, the situation
Yeah,
is
that's-
too.
Thank you,
short and
Christie.
sweet.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. Got a walk-in today.
Good. Fine.
Don't you walk in, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Does that include everybody?
That is it.
Everybody.
We have done it.
And there's like 4.
You did the thing.
It's nice that after all this time, the people who have come here regularly are starting to get into the routine of a consolidated presentation. I remember the first years that we did it, holy cow, we couldn't rein it in. We would have people going on for half an hour.
I do want to clarify on the salaries, we're leaving for the deliberation, the staff salaries and totally, right?
Yeah, I'll have some COLA data for that, and then, all right, whatever else you do with that is beyond what I do, but
Some recommendations
yeah.
on
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
personnel salaries.
Okay.
You know,
she's gone.
okay. You know,
So are
we're off.
okay, so you're not off, you need to close the meeting out.
But I'm saying Christie is in a position unlike any of the other 21 presenters. One storm coming through here, wiping out X number of our trees can completely consume her allocation. I mean, or we get an insect species in here that have been attacking the trees
Well, yeah,
up on Maryland Heights. And we
spotted
get that.
lizard flies.
Yeah, I mean, she's in a precarious position. Anyway, I digress. Anything else?
Well, I keep looking at Washington Street with those trees
Yeah.
leaning
Yeah.
over,
Oh my
and
God.
just think that's gonna
It's scary.
continue
I
on.
go out there every day.
Yeah, I'm
It's
worried.
scary.
What was the fire?
Trees
Yeah.
leaning
That's
over.
what you came down.
Unbelievable.
Which trees leaning over?
Yeah.
The trees on the edge of Washington Street as you head down past around Henry Clay and.
Yeah,
and,
starting from Henry Clay.
Oh,
they're-
right down.
You know, they're just leaning over, half of them are probably dead ash
Yeah.
trees
Yeah.
and.
Sure.
All right, what else I gotta do, Debbie?
Motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Drew.
Issue. I was speaking to Zach in the last couple of days, and he'd expressed a desire for the deliberation meeting on this to be at a time in the evening when people who work can attend. You know, right now you have it set for 2:30. And so I'm just passing on.
We're aware of that, and Zach and Debbie have discussed that now.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's all I've got for inside of the meeting.
Okay, nothing else for the good of the order? Then let's push our.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm gonna teach you.
Second.
No discussion, all those in favor of adjournment, raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0.
I was gonna say outside of the meeting.